Test, 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 test.
Oh, for the speaker?
For the speakers?
Sure.
And then when they're done, you shut this off?
Icon, not used to the seat, that's the problem. It's a pleasure to have you all here this morning, and just as a reminder, please turn off any electronic devices or silence them so that we can conduct business without interruption. Certainly during public comment, when you come to the podium, please let us know your name and your jurisdiction, the town that you live in. If you have any material with which you would like for the board to receive, please feel free to give that to our Sergeant of Arms, which is Commissioner Jim Kern. And so with that, at this time, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Stout,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling,
Present.
Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman,
Here.
Majerick,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Ballraff,
Present.
Werfel,
Here.
Yarborough,
Present. Good job.
Elliott. Madam Chair, you have
Moved.
11.
11 present, 1 absent. She threw me off.
Just under the wire. Good job.
Oh, good. That's good. I need that.
All right, we have a quorum here this morning. At this time, I'm looking for approval of the August 25th Committee of the Whole.
I'll make that
Meeting.
motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Volrath. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Scott. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. All right, minutes are approved. A moment with Annette. Requisition review.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you saw my email last night, the 2 requisitions that were pulled from this list last week are on it this week, and I provided extra information about the 2 items that were pulled. Does anybody have any additional questions on the requisition list?
Did everyone receive those communications? Is there additional?
Madam
Question,
Chair,
comment?
if any of these requisitions are supposed to be voted on in committee, then I would suggest that we don't sign the requisition until the 10:30 meeting.
Right, I think that there's one of them for finance. Is that correct? Or has that already been approved, the waiver?
The waiver
been
was
signed?
signed by Mamie last week.
Okay, so all of those things have been handled and taken care of? Do you have any additional comments, questions on that?
No,
Okay. No other questions or comments? All right. So the requisition list will be coming around to every commissioner, and then
Thank you.
we will vote on that in the 10:30 meeting. We now move on to the point in our agenda for scheduled discussion. And today we're going to be discussing the senior center audits. And we have Linda Eli here with us, who's been doing our audits for a couple of years. Memory does not serve me for how many? Is it 4? At least 4, yeah. So it's a pleasure to have you here this morning, and feel free to come on up and address the board.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and discuss with you the audits of the Berrien County Senior Centers. It's a pleasure to work with the senior centers. I really enjoy auditing, and I enjoy working with these organizations, and I'm really proud of the progress that we've made. Thank you. I did bring some hard copies of the summary. I don't know if you have them or not. Okay, good, good. And I do want to welcome, there's 2 board members from the St. Joe Senior Center here also attending, so I wanted to welcome them. Just as a refresher, I just want to say that the purpose of an audit is to increase the public confidence in the financial statements. Because the organizations receive public funding, there's a higher level of accountability. The nonprofit organizations file a tax form 990, and on that form, the IRS asks, was there an audit? The senior centers also file for a license to solicit for donations in Michigan, and the state of Michigan also wants a copy of the audits. Many grants require copies of the audits, and also the county is requiring that the senior centers be audited. As a refresher, when the center or when this county started this process, they had some goals. They wanted standardized content for quick, accurate comparisons. They wanted the same auditor for consistency and comparability, the same fiscal year end. So there were 2 senior centers that changed their year end for more comparability. They wanted a standardized chart of accounts. And so the county developed a standardized chart of accounts, which all of the senior centers have implemented and are using. There was emphasis on internal controls. The county had a list of 28 internal controls that they wanted to have implemented. And those have been provided to the centers each year to review and to implement. And I believe they made good progress in that area. In addition, they've also adopted many new accounting policies and procedures along the way. As the centers increase oversight, strengthen their internal controls, errors are reduced and opportunities for fraud are also reduced. So that's the focus on why there's a focus on internal controls. A financial statement audit is a collaborative process. And I'm very pleased to say that from when we began this process, from just cooperation, now there is engagement. And as you can probably tell by your communications with the centers, many of the board members are so engaged in this process. They want to attend the meeting when I'm at the center. They want to see what I'm looking at. They want to show me, here's what I'm looking at. How can I do this better? And I am really proud that we've gotten to this place where they're asking for advice. They want to improve. They're making the improvements. They're pleased to get the comments and suggestions. And I'm really proud of the accomplishments that the centers have made. Along the way, we've provided clear communication, technology, and other tools. We've given them a fraud risk self-assessment tool, segregation of duties worksheet, finance review checklist, digital secure portal file for sending and receiving and sharing business files securely online. Many of the centers now have provided that information digitally online through the portal so that the board members can see the documents that we are discussing in the email correspondence and not only read about it, but actually see the documents that I'm drawing their attention to. We've had an increase in the oversight. Last year, we had 3 that participated 100% digitally, and this year, 5 and more are participating as well. There's been consistent and clear expectations along the way and communication. Although these reports are dated a few months ago when they were timely submitted, the county has had copies of them as they've been accepted by the boards. We are now preparing for the current year end, which is September 30th. All the centers have received their list of the information that is requested. They have their engagement letters. They formed their audit oversight committees. We've started the email correspondence. They've started uploading documents to their portals. We're on target to make the November deadline by submitting all the documentation. It is a lot of documentation and it is very thorough, as I've been told. So I appreciate it's a lot of work, and they have worked very hard on this project. Appreciate the multi-year agreement. It's nice to know that we will continue to have these communications and the relationships, and it's nice, I think, for the senior centers to also know that they can continue to call our office throughout the year as questions and changes come up. Now I'll turn to the summary that you have handouts of. All of the centers received clean audit opinions or unqualified opinion. All of the centers received proposed audit journal entries for their accounting records. They accepted them and have entered them in their accounting records. Their accounting records now match the audited financial statements and the tax returns that were filed. All of the centers have corporate filing that is current with the state of Michigan. Their tax form 990s has been completed, filed, and accepted by the IRS on time. The Michigan solicitation license has been filed and they have received their new solicitation license. They've all implemented the new chart of accounts And as you can see, many are participating in the online submission and oversight so that their board members can see the documents as well as hear the discussion. The next section is regarding the auditor's comments. And there are a few of them. I would expect that this would continue just because I like to be thorough. I like to offer suggestions. Something comes to my attention, I'm going to put it in writing and tell the board about it. And I think that's part of what they're paying me for and what you are paying me for. So we want to make improvements. We want to make the organization stronger, and I'm going to help them do that. So you can see we want merchant account transactions timely recorded. We want payroll tax payments made timely. We also want to separate the bookkeeping and authorized signing individuals, and that's more difficult in a small organization. It's hard when you have volunteer board members and you have a small organization, and that takes a lot of work. And we also want authorized signers on the financial account to be updated as board members change and that sort of thing. Sometimes it's easy to get overlooked. The next section, we're showing how the policies and bylaws have been updated for two different items that were on your internal control list. Some organizations have just implemented policies, and others have, as they've updated their bylaws, have included that documentation within their bylaws. The next one is just another repeat of what the dual signature needs to be separate from accounting, and that was on your internal control list. And two of the centers are still working on that. Down at the bottom, I do want to show how when we started this in 2016, two of the centers, Benton Harbor and Niles, had different fiscal year ends, so they were not included in the initial year of that. But as you can see, the average comments or internal controls that have not been implemented has decreased from 4 when we first started to an average of 0. I also do want to comment on two of the centers, Buchanan and Benton Harbor. They have contracted since their year end with professional bookkeepers, and I think that will further increase their internal controls and their segregation of duties. So that's something that's happened since year end. I'm very pleased. Like I said, we've had significant increase in communication with the centers, significant increase in engagement. I remember when we first started this process, one of the commissioners said, "Tell me what you see that we don't see in these reports," and that's one or two of those things that you may not know about that I want to be sure that you do know about. All the centers have increased their accounting policies, procedures, and internal controls. They've increased their oversight by the number of board members that are involved. They've increased questions and communication throughout the year, such as, here's what I'm doing, how can I do this better? And I do want to say, I've been auditing nonprofit organizations for over 20 years, and with the senior centers, it's been a career first for me that after the audit presentation and discussion period, where we go through the report basically from front to back, nearly, at two of the centers, there was applause at the end of the audit. So I'm very pleased, and if you have any questions about any of this, I'd be happy to discuss it with you.
Thank you very much for the summary, the reports. I think we all received them to be able to, if we wanted to do that deeper dive, we could. Are there any questions for Linda? Yes, Commissioner
Hi,
Scott.
Linda.
Hi.
Up on the top of the summary,
Yes,
where it says online audit submission and oversight, in
Yes.
River Valley, you have a partial.
yes,
Is that partial online audit submission from the center to you?
yes.
And then is the oversight, is that from the center to you or oversight between the board?
Between the board,
Okay.
online, participation
All right,
online,
thank you.
looking at the documents.
All right.
There was just a couple documents that River Valley did not submit online through their portal. And all the other centers that with the smiley face submitted 100% of their documents online for all the audit oversight committee to view.
Right, that's why I was wondering if the oversight
Yes.
was in the board or if that was the oversight from the board to you. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, thank you. Hello, Linda.
Hi, Mamie.
I'm so pleased that you're doing this and that our centers have come together doing 7 different things, but now doing one order. One thing you said was, I hope I don't forget it. They were asking questions. And I wonder, are you being paid enough to be able to do it? Or are they asking you a lot of things and it should be more? I don't know. I think I kind of remember us doing like each year an increment, that it would raise. So I just don't quite know what you're paid. Could you tell us?
Thank
a
you for
little bit?
that. I'm paid a contract through the county, our firm is, to do the audit and the tax returns. The centers each pay an additional fee for the audit adjustments because that is based on the condition of their accounting records and the number of corrections that need to be made, and also any additional kind of engagement that they request. For example, when the Niles sold their property since year end, they contacted me and said, could you update our asset list and tell us what the journal entry is to record this? And I assisted them in that, and they paid an additional fee for that.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good.
That's what I
Yes.
wondered why then it left me. Thank
Yes.
you.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Crum.
Morning, Linda. Thank you for the presentation. I remember when we first started this, we had certain requirements that we asked of each senior center each year, and it graduated until they met all the requirements. Have they met all the requirements? There are no more graduated requests from us? Is that correct?
I don't know about what they submit to the county.
Mhm.
They have met everything that
Oh,
I've
okay. I
requested
see
of
Annette
them.
is looking at me. Can you answer that question, Annette?
Yes, we have the terms of appropriation, and normally I have that prepared for you today as well to go over that, but I just ran out of time. So I will be getting that to you so that you know that they've all been,
But
there's no additional ones. If that's,
okay,
is that what you?
we have met that, because I know in the first 2 or 3 years, we asked them each year to
Yep,
do
it-
something different so we could get to the end result. And I
It was
just curious
evolving,
if we
yep.
were at the end result. Thank you.
Yep,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Linda. With Annette as your backup.
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments for Linda? Seeing none, I want to thank you very much for the work that you've done. You can see the passion that you have for auditing, which is, a special skill set to have, for
It's
sure.
unique for sure.
And I want to thank the senior centers publicly for their effort and their work and embracing this. It's been a long journey to get us to this point, but you can see that those thresholds have been set, and then we've overcome them, and we continue to just improve. And what that does is just improve the services. And so because we do have members here from one of the senior centers, I want to thank you and your leadership at that center and all of the senior centers for what they've done to help provide a great service to our constituents in Berrien County. So thank you. And thank you for helping to guide that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's no other items on the scheduled discussion, so we are moving on to the next portion on our agenda, which is public comment. So if there's anyone here that would like to make public comment, unless Brian needs to interject.
Madam Chair, just a couple of updates for
Sure.
the full board. I have forwarded an invitation to the full board. Whirlpool has invited the board to come out to their campus next Thursday. It'll be at 4 p.m. Please take a look at your email. If there's any questions about that invitation, just let us know.
Thank you.
And then I've asked Ann to come down and just offer a quick update to the board. If you've seen today's news, there's very positive news about Berrien County and some partnerships with the city of Niles and the city of Benton Harbor. Before I ask Ann to come up, I'll just note that we do coordinate our shirts every day. So once again,
We're glad to know that the uniform program is well
Yeah,
being
it's going well.
implemented. Yes.
Dan, you ready?
Well, yesterday we got it backwards. We were black and white yesterday, which, yin and yang, I guess. Yeah, we received some pretty good news. We learned about it last week, but the announcement wasn't formal until yesterday. You'll recall last spring, we asked you to, you okay? Last spring, we had asked the board to authorize an application for grant funding through the MEDC to support a variety of projects, both on Main Street in Benton Harbor and Main Street in Niles. This is under what was called the RAP grant program. It's redevelopment something. I don't know, the acronyms escape me sometimes, but it's a program that the MEDC put together using ARPA funds. I think they had about $100 million available originally. And the idea was they encouraged a lot of communities to look at community public improvement projects. That would be like streetscape improvements, as well as private commercial residential redevelopment projects, mixed use redevelopment projects. So we had coordinated with our partners at Cornerstone Alliance, City of Benton Harbor, and City of Niles, because these were only the two census tracts that were really eligible to apply for this funding, Benton Harbor and Niles. And we put together a list of projects, originally totaling over $10 million. The program allowed for 50% funding match. So you had to show that you had in our case, we had $5 million available through other sources to carry out the projects. We asked for a little less than $5 million from the state. We didn't expect we were going to get everything we asked for, but we were confident we were going to get something. Fortunately, the Michigan Strategic Fund, which supervises the program, voted on Wednesday to authorize $2.6 million to the county to support these projects. So in total, we think we're going to be able to accomplish somewhere around $5 million of redevelopment projects in the two downtown areas of Benton Harbor and Niles. Now, what those projects will be, we aren't quite certain yet. We have a list of projects that we had submitted to the state. Obviously, we're going to have to pare that down because we received less than we applied for. Not looking a gift horse in the mouth at all. We're very happy to get the $2.6 million. But we'll probably be able to get around $5 million of projects done. We will be meeting with representatives of Niles and representatives from Cornerstone and Benton Harbor over the next 2-3 months to start structuring these projects to see which ones are viable, which ones can be accomplished within the time frame that we're given, which is basically only about 2 years to get the money spent. If I were to venture a guess, I think that the streetscape project in Niles is probably going to go, largely because Niles City is putting in half of the funding through their own ARPA dollars. I believe that there's going to be a public improvement project that we'll probably undertake in Benton Harbor, which will be the redevelopment of an alleyway. If anyone knows where like Houndstooth is, for example, the alley that runs back there, we're looking at rebuilding that, making it more accessible to the businesses, restaurants in that area. There will also be a couple private commercial and residential redevelopment projects that will deal with some vacant properties along Main Street in Niles and vacant properties along Main Street in Benton Harbor, where we have private investors that are going to come in and put up 50% of the cost to do commercial ground floor, residential condominium units, upper floor. So we'll get that list put together in the next couple of months. We have to submit it to the state for approval. Obviously, we'll bring it to you so you can review it and see what we're doing with it. But it's good news. We were one of, I believe, they handed out a lot of grants, but some of them were small private grants. I think for the public, what they call subrecipient or consortium grants, I think we were one of only like 7 or 8 in the state to get this. So, and credit to our colleagues at MEDC, they did a very good job of spreading the money around the state of Michigan. So I think almost every region in the state is going to see some of this funding going into their downtown. So it's a good announcement. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Yarbrough.
Mr. Petty, may I ask, is there any committee this is going to be connected with this, like community development or brownfields or any kind of a county board involved in
Well, the grant is issued to the Berrien County. So yes. The board will have supervision and jurisdiction over the administration of the grant. My department will basically run the financial administration of the grant. As I indicated, though, as we put the list of projects together, we will bring that probably through Finance Committee originally, because that's our parent committee, and then the board eventually to review and comment on the list of projects that we have. So you will be involved in the process, but at this point, we and our partners kind of have to sit down privately and go through this list and figure out what's feasible, What money do we have to match it? How do we line these things up in a manner that we can get them accomplished in the timeframe?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan, for that update. Good news. It's always good to see growth and improvement. So thank you.
Madam Chair, those were the only staff comments.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, so we'll pivot back onto my earlier statement then, and now we'll open it up for public comment. If there's anyone that wishes to address the board, please do so.
Michael Haskins from Pipestone Township. I am here to express my complete and utter opposition to a roundabout at the intersection of Napier and Miami. The development can go in, but I'm going to ask this question rhetorically. Do any of you live in a home with one entrance? Is that entrance a revolving door? If our county road engineer believes that he likes zeros and roundabouts that much, his paycheck should be reduced to zero and he'd be dismissed from the county of Berrien's employ and sent back to wherever it came from. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments and your feedback. Are there any other public comments at this time? All right, hearing none. Brian, is there any other business that you wish?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well then, we're ahead of schedule and you are adjourned to your committee